Wow, it's a winter wonderland. Apparently there's a boss event going on. I can't wait to get into that event and fight the boss. Surely it's going to let me. Oh! Alright. Guess I'm not getting those items then. Anyway, welcome back to part 2. Oh my god, it's really hailing outside. Can it not? Anyway. We're back with this again. Wow, these daily rewards suck! Anyway, sorry for the bad noise outside, it's hailstoning pretty badly. Anyway, we're back with another part of this because the last part did really well, so I'm going to follow up this part with some more issues. This one is regarding some issues that I didn't cover in the previous video. So, people have pointed out that the updates also are really slow. Now that can either be a good thing or a really bad thing. I think most people will agree with me that it's actually a pretty bad thing for the game. Because, spoiler alert, if you're in a group doing the new dungeon, it's not going to take you that long to beat the new dungeon. Like, I'd say it'd take about a month at most if you're a high level person with a group. Now, sure, if you're a new player, it might take you a year to get up to that point, or longer because all these dungeons in the later part of the game are so unbalanced it's comical. Anyway. There was also an issue brought up that, it wasn't in my comment section, I found it by myself, that in Gilded Sky specifically, if you die, you have to wait 5 more seconds to respawn. Now, this is apparently done because in Northern Lands, you could reset to get to the next area quicker. Now, while this is a good time save in normal mode, in hardcore mode, if you die, you die, so not really sure why they put this in Gilded Skies. This kind of seems like an intentional design flaw, if you ask me. They could have done it in like a better way. Like, increase the death penalty to 15 seconds, but no, they just made it take 5 more seconds to respawn in Gilded Skies, which is kind of a bad design choice, not gonna lie. There are better ways they could have done that, but they chose the bad one. Also, in this video, I'm going to respond to some of the comments that I got on the last video. So, yeah. So, comment number 1 comes from user iTrainRoblox, saying that new dungeons used to release every 1 to 2 months. Now it's 6 to 12 months of waiting, and enhancing a focus and enhancing a rage value drops once a new dungeon releases. Yeah, those chances, is it chances or values? I think it's like the buff it gives you, it keeps dropping. But, oh no, not the buffs, the value of the items in trading, yeah, I get it. Yeah, they drop each update because, well, they're level 150. It's kind of like how the value of the Desert Temple legendaries is like 0 these days, and I have 2 of them that I got in the same run, by the way. But yeah, I see what you mean by that. They are dropping in value, and they're not even like they're that good. Like, they're so rare, but like they're barely better than the regulars. Like, they're only like, it's like 90%, and it's like the same speed buff. So not sure why you would try to grind them unless you want that extra power buff which you need for every single dungeon. So yeah, I can see what you mean by that. Then the next comment comes from a user called Y3T Hoper, who says they are level 216 and confirmed that small groups 4 to 6 make the game way too easy, but when you play solo it's just too hard and you can't do anything about it. I already could get in 7 days max purple Gilded Sky set plus legendary, all because groups make it easy. Yeah, I agree with you. It's way too easy in groups, but it's way too hard solo. I perfectly agree with that. The fact of the matter is, the game is balanced based on group play and not solo play. And, well, that leads to its own problems. As I touched on in the last episode, I said I couldn't really do solo volcanic. That was a bit of a bad wording. I can, but it just takes so long, and the XP gain is so minimal that it's not even worth doing. Like, it takes like 8 or 9 minutes to beat it because the map is not only so difficult to, well, not really difficult. It takes so long to kill the enemies because my damage is minimal compared to like the bosses and stuff, and the fact that it's so long of a map, it just makes it more tedious and annoying than it should be, you know. And yeah, I can see why a lot of people are quitting, because these maps just seem to be getting longer and longer. And it doesn't seem like that's going to change anytime soon. But hey, maybe next year when, you know, the new dungeon comes out will tell. Also, was it a year? I think it was way more than a year. Because I believe like Northern Lands came out like the middle of 2020 or something. And then it took until the end of 2021 for Gilded Skies to come out. So it's like, Anyway. The next comment comes from the Amazing Gamer 385. They said that there's some points agree with and some points disagree with. Disagree that you should be able to easily solo just with getting loot from the gear. Yeah, I kind of don't agree with that either. I don't think it should be easy, but it should at least be possible. Like right now, you cannot do it with the gear from the past dungeon. It's just not possible. Like Volcanic, you try to do that with the gear from Orbital, you're just going to perish immediately. Like, you cannot. You need the gear from Volcanic Insane to do Volcanic Insane. That's not how that should be at all. You actually need to learn the mechanics solo. Yes, that is true. But when you're getting to points like Volcanic and Aquatic where the enemies is just so difficult, like, I had to glass cannon my way through Insane just because I needed the damage in order to kill them in a reasonable amount of time. Like, they had so much HP that in my normal build, if I was level 150 going with the build I did now, it would take like 4 hits to kill them. Now, I have a pretty good build now for a Volcanic Nightmare. Like, it does... Wow, that is really, Did I seriously just do 0 damage? Anyway. Yeah. I understand that not everyone is dedicated enough to learn mechanics, especially coming from a Dungeon Quest veteran. Yeah, that is true. Not everyone is completely dedicated, but I believe some people are. And, well, props to those people. I'm just not exactly that dedicated, especially now that Volcanic is so boring, because it's all the same, and I've pretty much learned the mechanics of the bosses now. And the fact they take so long to level up. Like, I need to do Volcanic 16 times just to level up from 157 to 158, because it gets like 1 billion. Oh no, it's 1.5 billion, so it's about 11 times. Yeah, I'm bad at maths. Anyway, let's continue with this comment. I agree that super slow update time is killing Dungeon Quest. Yes, this is another point I touched on at the start of this video. The update times are so slow. Like, you get the new dungeon update, and then about a couple weeks later you get the daily gift update, and then you gotta wait like a year and a half. But yeah, I do agree with that. Also, is this Excalibur quest ever going to be completed? I believe there's like 5 things now, but you need 6, and I don't think the 6th one is implemented or is going to be implemented anytime soon. Now, of course, I only have 3 of them because I don't know how to get the other 2. I think one of them is you require 3 dungeon cosmetics. That's never going to... I'm never going to do that. That's just really annoying. Like, why would I go through old dungeons hundreds, maybe even thousands of times just to get a cosmetic? Like, what? It's not even like the Excalibur's even going to be that worth it. It's probably just going to be a cosmetic. And its value probably not going to be that much because everyone's going to have it. So, like, what's the point? Anyway, the XP award after Orbital doesn't help either, as exponentially increases XP is a fixed rate set by developer. Yeah, that's a point I touched on just before, where it takes forever to level up. Enchanted in a focus intended rates not help because it'd be in the top 5 dungeon. I think that needs to change. I don't believe it's in Gilded Skies. I might be wrong. It might have been found out that it is in Gilded Skies. But when I checked the spell tree for Gilded Skies, it didn't seem like Enchanted in a Rage and Enchanted in a Focus were in that loot table. So I think that has changed. I think more common updates with different, more interesting mechanics and spells will make the game much better than it is now. Yes, but it also needs to be rebalanced because, well, new dungeons are incredibly difficult to solo. And I just want to bring up a point, like, so the dungeons are balanced for group play, but this leads to a problem where once that dungeon becomes, well, insignificant, aka when a new dungeon comes out, what about all those new players that, like, are not up to the new dungeon yet? They're kind of screwed, aren't they? because they cannot get through that dungeon because it was balanced to group play. Now, of course, they could just get like really good gear and then be able to solo it, and that's what a lot of people end up doing with the daily gifts. But like, that's not what the gameplay should be. You shouldn't be reliant on daily gifts to get through a dungeon. You should be able to get through the dungeon with the previous dungeon's gear, although maybe difficult, but it should at least be possible. In some dungeons, that's not even possible. Like in the past dungeons, like Winter Outpost or even Pirate Island and maybe even King's Castle, like the early dungeons, you could get through that with the previous dungeon's gear. Like, I even did this with canals. It was possible with canals, just about. It wasn't, well, not entirely possible. I did have like one set of gear from Daily Gift, but that's all it needed, was just one Daily Gift worth of canals gear, and then I was able to solo it. Like, it wasn't like, I didn't need like the really best gear. I just got like one Daily Gift of canals gear, and then I was able to solo it and get more gear from it. But like, that's used to be something that was doable. Now it's like one set of gear from Volcanic. Lol. No, you need the best armor and a legendary. I mean, I have a legendary, but my armor is not really that good. But yeah, that's kind of a problem. And you think you can get carried some people? No, that's not a thing that happens. You have to get into a very lucky server for that to happen. Anyway, let's continue through with these comments. This next comment comes from a user known as JonathanLackJohn3085. Used to play this game a lot, and Steampunk Sewers was the last dungeon I quit on the game because Steampunk Sewers was way too difficult. Even when I was maxed out with Legendary gear and Legendary 1, the game's become too difficult. Well, Steampunk Sewers I don't necessarily agree with. Like, I was able to solo Steampunk Sewers, but it did take me a little bit of gear from Daily Gifts to do. I'm not going to say that it was, like, a good dungeon, because you still needed, like, you still need, like, semi-decent gear. But I was able to solo Steampunk. It just, like, the mechanics in Steampunk are a lot different to than what you saw in Ghastly Harbour. So I can see why the game got really difficult at that point, because the mechanics changed a lot. And there was, like, multiple different, like, each enemy had its own mechanics, like the spinning sword bot and the hammer bot, which was kind of like the hammer bot was kind of similar to the body slamming enemy that you saw in Ghastly, the one that tries to fall on you. It's basically that, but I can see what you mean. The bosses are pretty difficult there, especially the second one. Anyway, this next comment comes from a user with a name that I'm not going to try to pronounce. Saying they'll probably quit Dungeon Quest. It just feels like a huge time waste to keep trying to get better stuff, but it's too rare. Yes! The armor that you need, like the, say for example in Volcanic, the Lava King armor, it's so obscenely rare. Like, I say it's even rarer than the Legendary that I have. I mean, I forgot both! I have both the Blooming Volcanic Legendaries. And I only have a green Lava King's warrior armor and a grey Lava King's warrior helmet. I've not gotten anything better, but I have both the legendaries. And if you're thinking that, oh, you should just switch to mage, I haven't gotten any of the Lava King's mage armor, ever. So it's like, that's not really viable. But if I ever do, I do have Inner Focus in my inventory somewhere. Yeah, there it is. And I do have the mage spell somewhere. It's not Lava Cage, I believe it's yeah, Lava Beam or what is it? I don't remember. It's some spell. I think it might actually be the Lava Cage, but Amethyst Blast also exists. Yeah, it's the higher end Nightmare Armor is just absurdly rare. And the fact that you need it is just not fun. This comment comes from Akatas9117. I think he's just mad that he can't beat Volcanic Chambers. I can beat Volcanic Chambers, it just takes too long for me to be bothered. This next comment comes from Hyrule Wanderer. This game is really bad, but I always come back when I got nothing better to do. Do you need help in Volcanic Hardcore? I'm thinking about grinding Enchanted Inner Agent and Inner Focus. I replied to this saying, it's not that I can't do it, it's that I can't do it fast enough for it to not be hell. So maybe. That is what I responded with, and that still holds true. I mentioned that earlier, and it still holds true. This next comment comes from Dedicate Grinder 1241. I mean, Lava Barrage does a little more damage, however in Gilded Skies they're both 1-tick, so there's no creativity at all. Yes, Lava Barrage does do a little bit more damage than the Falling Sword, but the fact is that 1-tick spells have just become so good that using a multi-tick spell just isn't worth the time. Like, and that's a problem. Remember when I said that I needed the I needed to go Glass Cannon at start of Volcanic just to be able to do damage quick enough to beat the dungeon? Yeah, that's why 1-tick spells are so good, because you need quick damage to be able to beat the dungeon. This next comment comes from Hexatil1359. Just play non-hardcore. Yeah, I do play non-hardcore. It's painful. This next one comes from okay, well, I've actually ran out of comments. These two ones are just saying I have a skill issue, and honestly, the comments are just all you guys crying about it. It's just sad. These two people are probably like level 200 and get to play in groups all the time because they keep their level up to date. Yeah, try being a new player and getting to that point again. It's not exactly easy. In fact, I might be convinced that it may even be impossible without help. But if you guys can figure out how to get carries, then fine. But that's something that you used to not need. Anyway, I think there's just a couple more points that I'm going to touch on. At the start of the video, I looked at the event, and there's cosmetics you can get. Like there's weapon cosmetics, titles, and armors. And then you go to create, and then you look at the required level, and it's like, oh, I guess I can't do that event. Remember Egg Island? Yeah, you didn't need a level to do that. Granted, Egg Island was for a Roblox event, but like, can't we get something similar for the Christmas one? I believe Halloween was the same thing when Enchanted Forest was the highest, and you required level 175 to do that. It's like, why? Why do you need to do that? Yes, you can get snowflakes from doing other dungeons, but like, why can't we do the special boss fight? I really would want to have done that. Why can't it be like Egg Island, where you got like, you had to choose which set, and then you like did the thing with that set. Like, you couldn't bring your own gear into it like you probably can with this new event, but that event could at least be done by everyone. It didn't matter what your level was, everyone was the same. And it was actually a really fun event. I really enjoyed that dungeon, even though you didn't get anything from it, and you had to play Nightmare, which is difficulty of the cosmetic. It was still a fun dungeon to play through. Like, I enjoyed that. It was pretty well done. But like, you don't get events like that anymore. You have to be like max level to enjoy the events. And it's like, oh, I guess I can't. Anyway, that's pretty much what I have to touch on for this episode. When things change, I may make a third part, depending on what happens in the future. But like, for now, this is going to be the end of it. I'm probably going to maybe try to get level 160 if I feel like it, but like, it'll take like at least a few days of playing like 6 hours a day to get there. But even though it is possible, I'd probably get stuck at 160 because of things I've mentioned before. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.